Once in position, the four-man teams must be self-sufficient for up to 10 days, during which they face hours and hours of watching in total stillness and silence.
Alright y'all, welcome back to Combat Arms channel. Now in today's video we are checking out the British Special Observers. Now I'm not actually sure if these guys fall under the Royal Marine Commandos or the British Army, so if you guys could provide some insight to that, I would appreciate it. And I'm not actually sure what sort of role these guys fill. Now they seem like they're more of our forward observers, but at the same time they also seem like they're more of a reconnaissance element. So this video might shed some light on that to see where they more specifically lie. But I think right now I could probably compare them to just general reconnaissance in the U.S. military, or possibly our forward observers, maybe even like the Pathfinders. But I know the British Army has their own Pathfinder element. So I guess we'll have to check out this video and see how these guys actually do everything and what their main role is. But I'm very excited to check it out. I got this recommendation from a few of y'all. As you guys know, I'm a huge fan of doing like reconnaissance and everything. So I want to check out these guys and how they do their field craft. And if you don't know what I mean by that, their field craft is basically whenever they're out in the field, how they actually do everything. You know, how disciplined are they with their camouflage, with their noise, light, and litter discipline, how their tactics are, and what sort of tactics they actually use. So I'm excited to check it out and sort of compare it to how I actually did it when I was in the Army Recon Platoon. So let's check it out.
The role of Special Observer is unique.
I think through my mind is, you know, what if we do get caught? What is my plan to get out of that situation? And I think it's almost like when you play hide and seek.
Their job is to march up to 100 kilometres ahead of the front line, deep into enemy territory, and in the dead of night, construct observation posts in buildings, bushes, or underground.
Okay, so immediately these guys sound like our long-range reconnaissance. Now, it's not something we have so much nowadays. I think it sort of phased it out. But the long-range reconnaissance is basically those guys who go out before the rest of the main body or the main element, and they would go push, you know, like they're saying, very, very far out and do the reconnaissance of the enemy. So they sort of have that depth inside the enemy territory. And of course, they need to be very good at observation, you know, sending up reports on the radio. They need to be savvy with their communications. They need to be really good with their discipline as far as like the light and sound and camouflage. So there's a bunch of stuff going into it. And these guys, yeah, they have a rough job, but generally people who go into stuff like this really love the whole stealthy aspect of everything. Like I was a huge fan of just sneaking around and doing all that stuff when I was on the recon team. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. So we'll see how these guys actually manipulate the environment around them to actually suit their purposes.
Then they must watch and wait, silently logging the enemy's every move and feeding it back to command. The information they send will be crucial. First, they must learn to march long distance and build their observation posts by day.
Most importantly, we need to be able to speak to people and observe people. Next, most important is that obviously nobody sees us. That's usually achieved by picking the most horrible, inaccessible place we can find. A place where nobody else is likely to just go by.
Right, so exactly. Whenever you're planning your routes, especially for like a recon element, if you don't have a whole lot of people and you're sort of just trying to be self-sufficient, you don't want to be contacted by the enemy, because if you get compromised, then you're going to have to bug out and you have a large distance to travel, and it's probably not going to end up too well for you. So generally, you don't really add that so much into the planning, because you really want your discipline to take effect when you're actually planning your routes. And a lot of times it does end up, you know, you have to go through this marsh or this swamp or this really thick vegetation. Generally, you don't want to go too thick to where you can't actually get through it. But yeah, you want to go to the road less traveled, so to speak, because you know the enemy's not going to want to go there. So it allows you to avoid their patrols and a lot of their observation just by doing that. And yeah, it's not fun, but you know it's what you have to do to actually get into position.
Prickliest bush.
Yeah, absolutely. Gorse bushes are particularly good for this kind of training. They are really awful to try and get into, but they do provide quite a lot of good cover once you're inside. And they're evergreen, so they can use them all year round. So a lot of the other vegetation stuff will die off.
The soldiers must cover their tracks at every stage, so ponchos protect the ground around whilst the post is constructed. The inside of the bush is hollowed out, and hasties made of chicken wire and hessian are dragged inside. These will form the roof of the shelter, protect them from the elements and hide them from enemy thermo-imaging.
Okay, yeah, so having overhead cover is very important, especially if the enemy possess like drones. Because I remember one time I was doing an op and the dudes we were going against actually had like a UAV. And even though it was a forest, they seemed like they were pretty skilled with manipulating the UAV. And if those actually have like thermal capabilities, then it's going to be very hard for you to hide from it. So you need that overhead cover. And again, if they do have thermals, then it's nice to have like a poncho or a tarp to sort of mask your heat signature. But yeah, it's very important what he was saying, how they were using like the conifers or the evergreens. Basically, if you get like a softwood tree, whether it be like a pine tree, something that has needles, those needles aren't going to, decay and change colors rapidly. So they're really awesome for establishing your hide sites or your observation post. Because if you use like leaves or what have you, it's going to fade. The leaves are going to rot very quickly, and you're going to have to change it out a lot, which is just a lot of excess movement. So it was awesome that he actually said that as well. I really like how they're using the chicken wire. That's actually a really good idea that I never thought about. But right now what they're setting up is their hide site, which is kind of like a command post, because from here you could also have smaller observation posts. You can sort of use your hide site as that command post with the radios, the extra equipment, the food. That's where you'd go to do all your eating and sleeping and everything. And then you'd push people out to different observation posts. Or you can actually do observation from there as well.
The aim is to be completely invisible from just 5 meters away.
What we're trying to alleviate is not to cut or move anything from the front, because that's the front end that's facing the target area. Quackers, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
So he's in the bush.
Quackers?
Yeah, so generally I can just about make them out because they haven't finished and completed.
How can they make sure that they're not seen when inside the bush?
So slowing their movement down and slowing the noise down.
Shiny things as well?
And shiny things, yes, because BFA, that needs to be cammed up. Watchers, they'll obviously or they'll turn them inside out, around the rest there. Trap.
Yeah, so she was basically saying they're both saying, I guess, noise, light, and litter discipline. So you don't want to move around too much, because if you move around, that makes a lot of loud sounds. If you move quickly and your gear's moving around, a certain way, it's very easy for you to pick up on certain things like that. And even if you're like scanning a tree line and you see a rapid movement, then your eye will get attracted to that. So you want to move very slowly. You want to talk very low. If you're using a light at night, then you have to use like a red lens, and preferably under like a poncho and everything if you're checking like a map or what have you. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, and again, it's not about your comfort. It's just about getting the job done and not getting compromised.
Just looking at your colour now that you've put in. So you've put this camouflage in, and then look at the bush. It's like darker green. This is like a sun-bleached lime green. If someone was to walk past now, they'd notice that colour change. And you've got the cobwebs here. Try and not break those. So as you've arrived,
Nice.
Is how you want to be inside it.
Inside, the bush observation post is almost complete. Once in position, the 4-man teams must be self-sufficient for up to 10 days, during which they face hours and hours of watching in total stillness and silence.
It's no easy way of it, taking the boredom away, and each individual has their own way of keeping their mind occupied. I like to probably think of a song. Shotgun, Aqua springs to mind as well. Barbie Girl.
Okay. To each his own, I guess.
A lot of people don't just like being confined in that one environment, but that's the essence of going out and then finding that target and then reporting it back. You know that what you're pushing back is critical information. What you say, it can change the entire picture of essentially a war.
Right, so their job is extremely important, especially being pushed out so far. The enemy is not going to be expecting, there to be a recon element or an observation post that far into their territory. So it's important for them to remain undetected. but mainly because their job is so important with getting that information, getting that intelligence, and sending it over the radio. So again, you do need to have you need to make sure you have solid comms, and that was a big issue for us, is just making sure we were in a position to get good communications. But yeah, you really want to make sure that you remain undetected, so you can continue to report the enemy's movements, what sort of equipment they have. If they're starting to pack up and get ready to move in a certain direction, you can let everyone else know, hey, you might have some guys coming towards you.
4 blokes sat in a bush.
The role of the special observer is highly skilled, high risk and critical. From their bramble bush or hole in the ground, the special observers have the power to call in arms fire or scrambled jets. The students on this course will carry great responsibility in future operations.
Yeah, so calling in fire is another big thing. I know when I was on the recon platoon, we had, it is reconnaissance, but we also wanted to introduce forward observers, because the forward observers are the ones who would go and call in the air supports and call in everything else. So it was nice to have them because they specialize specifically in that, so they're really quick. So when you have reconnaissance and someone who's capable of calling in those fires, it can be extremely lethal. And we actually got the nickname Bombs from the Bivvy, because it's basically us dropping bombs on people from like our bivvy sacks, which is kind of like our sleep systems. And yeah, it's just funny when you can lock down a certain area with reconnaissance and fires, then it really does a lot for the rest of the team, or the rest of the company or battalion. So yeah, their job is extremely important, and I can really appreciate it, especially from that recon point of view. But yeah, this is an awesome video. The special observers seem like they definitely know what they're doing. Again, I'm not too sure. It looked like it was a British Army. But yeah, they seem like they're doing a pretty good job. I'm not sure if the Royal Marine Commandos have something very similar or like their own equivalents. But yeah, this is a very awesome thing to make sure you have in a military, just because it allows your elements to have that capability to do the reconnaissance and track the enemy movements, and also call for fire if you really need to. So awesome capability, and these guys seem like they're definitely doing it well, and they know what they're talking about. So awesome recommendation. Yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments section. If you're in a different military and you have something that's very similar to this, let me know in the comments section, because again, I'm a huge fan of the whole reconnaissance elements and everything. And it's a lot of fun to see what other people are doing. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Comment again, let me know what you think. If you liked the video, hit that thumbs up. And of course, if you guys aren't subscribed, definitely consider hitting that subscribe button. I would definitely appreciate it. But again, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. That is it for this one, so I will see you all in the next one.